death. It is one of the most unfortunate things life has to offer. However, every single one of us has to confront it sooner or later. This quote here reads, "I'm not afraid to die. I just don't want to be there when it happens." I'm going to go ahead and agree with this quote. However, I'm going to interpret it my own way. I think it's the idea of dying that doesn't scare us. It's the idea of reaching our deathbeds. And as I've discussed this quote, I'm going to use an example from a famous celebrity who lived by this. And also I'm going to mention a personal experience of mine. As you may know, Kurt Cobain, the man from Nirvana, committed suicide. However, in his suicide note, he wrote, "It's better to burn out than to fade away," which is a quote from Neil Young's song. And what I think he meant by this is that he would rather go out with a bang, go out when he had his image still intact. He didn't want to die looking like a feeble young man, or he didn't want to die looking like a washed out rock star, like, I don't know, Ozzy Osbourne. You know those guys, they can't really speak anymore, they look really bad, they look like zombies. So as I read this quote once again, I keep thinking about it, and I'm just like, you know what, he was right. Although it was very tragic, I think it would have been more tragic for the man to realize he was dying slowly, and his image was deteriorating, as to dying when he was still at the peak of his career. Therefore, his image stays the same throughout eternity, pretty much. Now moving on to personal experience. 4 months ago, I left to Mexico, visit my grandparents, and I met my grandpa, and he was a heavy smoker, and he wouldn't stop smoking. He had 3 or 4 heart attacks already. His heart was at 30%, and this man, he would still smoke his pack a day, and it's been pretty bad. Looking at him, he wouldn't stop smoking. And I'd be like, "Why do you keep smoking?" He's like, "I don't care if my heart's at 30%. I'm gonna live the way I want to live. Just because I'm dying, I'm not gonna change who I am or what I will become." He didn't want to appear weak. He didn't want to change his lifestyle to look healthy. He wanted to still keep his image intact as well. There was a couple situations where he had to go to the hospital because he was bad, and he wouldn't want to go. And this man right here, he's one of the strongest people I've ever met in my life. And I look back at him and I'm just like, wow, like one day I want to be like him. Not necessarily smoke and die, just be that strong character, I think he was scared of his image too deteriorating. He didn't want to look weak. He didn't want to see himself in a deathbed. He wanted to live his life the way he wanted to live it. And he looked as happy as could be. Smoking his pack of cigarette, if that made him happy, then I respect that. And looking back, I read this quote and it says, "I'm not afraid of that. I just don't want to be there when it happens." These 2 people weren't there when it happened. They lived their life, and then death just hit them. However, they remained happy until the end. Thank you.
No. Yeah. Cobain, you and your body.
Oh, that's probably the green goblin.
What?
Right?
This is white.
Yeah, I'm like, were you talking about Spider-Man? The Green Goblin? Osborn? Huh?
Kurt Cobain.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh yeah.
He was thinking
You know
about
Is that
he was
really all
thinking
you got
about
out of that
from
speech?
Spider-Man.
That was so interesting. Oh, it was something else?
Oh, that's so
Something
sad.
else. It was something else.
All right, Christian, you start with a strong, forceful statement as your attention device. That's okay. I like the identification of the quote, and I thought you had a good transition trying to explain how you were going to interpret the quote and approach it. There's also a good preview of what you're going to talk about. I thought that was fine. On each of the examples, you developed them pretty well. I thought that there was, I think your description of Kurt Cobain's experience is a little bit, limited, but I understand the point that you're trying to make. I do think it's probably inappropriate to say he went out with a bang, because that's not really the way. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's talk about irony. But you got more animated as you were speaking when you got to the story about your grandfather. I thought that you seemed a lot more natural and relaxed when you were doing that.
Yeah.
And it like the first part, you were speaking effectively, but it felt a little bit like I'm having to give a speech. And when you got to the second part, it's a little bit more like I'm having a conversation. And I think you'll notice that a little bit when you watch your speech. On the gestures, I thought you had some good indicators. You seemed animated. Your facial expressions, like I said, you got more animated in the second part. Your eye contact is usually solid, but there are lots of times when you're looking away. And that, I'm not sure if that's just nervousness or if it's just kind of a habit of yours that might be part of the way you interact with people on a regular basis, because like I said, it didn't look like you were afraid of looking at people, but it did seem like, you kind of withdrew from them a little bit more than I think you want to do in a speech. It might be more appropriate, let's say, in a one-on-one interaction. All right, there we go.